In the last 2.5 years, for about 4 years, we've been doing this webinar called Real Estate Trends, right? And there's a new one for every year. It's a fairly long webinar. It's about 90 minutes of content, so about 60 slides. And we basically talk about all the different trends affecting multifamily and commercial real estate. And increasingly over the last 3 years, we've seen industrial rise to the top. And if you think about it, industrial rising to the top should be no surprise to anybody. The United States, except for the coronavirus pandemic, usually grows at about 2%. Our economy grows at 2%. And there's sectors in the US economy that typically grow at 3%, 4%, even 5%. The only sector that grows much faster than the economy has always been e-commerce, right? That's why you notice that Amazon doubles year over year, that sort of thing. Yeah, e-commerce typically grows between 10 and 15% a year. So if you look at the US economy at 2%, e-commerce is either 5 or 7 or 8 times faster than the US economy. Any sector that is inherently connected with e-commerce is also going to grow faster than the US economy. And the industrial sector is connected to e-commerce because of warehousing, because of logistics, because of basically all of the transportation elements that go with e-commerce. Because what you're really doing with e-commerce is instead of placing your goods in a big box retailer at $3 or $4 a square foot of cost, you're placing it in an industrial warehouse at 75 cents a square foot of cost. You're saving that 4x, 5x, and passing that on to the consumers. Amazon certainly does that. They just came out with their results, 89 billion in revenue for this quarter, and only about 4 to 5 billion in profits. So essentially, they're just keeping a 5% margin and pushing the rest out to the consumers. And that's why we've seen Amazon beat everyone else on cost. That was pre-pandemic. So pre-pandemic, e-commerce was growing at 5 to 7 times the US economy. Now let's talk about what happened in the last 4 to 5 months. So we just got a report that between June 2019 and May 2020, okay, so that's 12 months, the e-commerce world grew at 77% year over year. So that's roughly 40 times the speed of the US economy. And almost all of that surge was in the last 4 months. Basically, the e-commerce month, Feb, March, April, May, were the surge months. That's when e-commerce really massively surged. There's some people that are thinking, no, people are going to go back to the old ways. I'm not in that group. I'm in the group of people that the extraordinary convenience of e-commerce, right? When let's say you sign up for Amazon and you weren't signed up before, now you've got like dozens of items that are in your orders list. You can go tap and click buy again, or you can use subscription services and pay even less. That's a very addictive thing. It's very difficult to go back to, let's go to Walmart to just pick up a toilet roll. I believe that this surge is permanent. We have not yet seen e-commerce in the last 20 years have a year where it didn't grow massively from the previous year. So it's been a continuous, rapid, faster than US growth. And the industrial sector has benefited as a result. In fact, at the beginning of the year when I did the Trends webinar, this is pre-COVID, and I'm saying, look, I'm a multifamily guy, I don't have any industrial assets, but I can tell you that industrial is a better asset class than multifamily today. I said this bluntly in Jan, and I said, look, because nothing else, multifamily is not growing at 15% a year. Multifamily grows at 3 or 4% a year. We feel really happy about it. E-commerce grows at 15% a year. But now in the last 4 months, Alan, we've had 77% growth. So if it's 15% a year, that means that 5 years of e-commerce growth occurred in 4 months, 5 years worth. But in the last 4 months, we didn't build any warehouses. Most of the US was shut down. Construction activity was massively slowed. We didn't build any warehousing. So all of a sudden, you need billions more square feet of warehouse that doesn't exist. You need logistics, you need trucks. All that stuff doesn't exist yet. In the last 4 months, we made it work. It was pandemic time. People worked 24 hours a day. Truckers work crazy hours. And we somehow made it work. But in the long run, we are going to need more space. The second reason why industrial is so phenomenally powerful is that the United States has been, for the last 20 years, has been a just-in-time or JIT economy. We're the world's leading JIT economy. What this means is we have 4 days of food. We have 4 days of Purell. We have 4 days of toilet paper, right? That's the total amount of stock that the United States has, because the US is supplied by thousands of cargo ships every day. So we never really needed more than 4 days worth. So it really never made sense to have more than 4 days worth of storage, except now we realize that was a really bad idea. So at this point, we're going to go from a 4-day economy to a 10-day or a 15-day economy, because local mandates, state mandates, and federal mandates are going to be, we're not going to make this mistake again. We need more supplies. We need everything from PPE to Purell. We need more water. We need more food. This pandemic really changed things, right? Mentally changed how we operate. And so I'm not saying we're not going to be a just-in-time country, but I don't think we're going to be a 4-day just-in-time country. I think it might be 6, I think it might be 10. Once again, billions of square feet of storage spaces is required. So you look at all of those pieces, right? And then you look at this phenomenon of populist politicians saying, we need to bring our supply chains back. We can't be basically this overly dependent on China, who we might get into a shooting war with in the next 5 years. And that's a populist chant that I'm not so sure that's a good idea to do. Who listens to me? Bottom line is, politicians can get elected by saying, I'm going to bring our supply chains back home. So even if 5% of the US supply chains come back home, that's billions of square feet of industrial. So I'm looking at this going, before COVID, it was already the investor's darling. It was number one in the US, but in pretty much any trends document that you could see. And in the last 4 months, it just becomes number 1 through number 5. It's phenomenal. So we've been looking at it for a long time, trying to get into the asset class, failing over and over again, projects that didn't pencil out. And we finally got lucky and we did a project. We released it on Wednesday. We shared this information, this thought process with investors. It was a large raise, $6.4 million. Today is Friday, so 48 hours after our webinar, we're fully subscribed and we have people on hold. So I think folks get it.